Well, we got a kind of an overload of fantasy prequel stuff happening right now, and the latest in this I don't know trend would be the new Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, on Amazon Prime. I'm not going to be handling this one. I'm actually not super familiar with the whole Lord of the Rings franchise. I've never seen one movie or read one book, so for for people like me who haven't, is there some appeal here for first time viewers, people who are Lord of the Rings virgins, as we might say?
It's a good question. I don't know, Roland. What are you a Lord of the Rings version?
Nope. Virgin? Yes. Yes. Kind of pretty much same boat as Andrew. I think I watched some when I was like a kid, but yeah, no. Sorry.
All right.
All
I
right.
I mean it's the truth.
No, it's the truth. Like that's the thing.
I was a
Um,
little hipster boy. If something was
yeah.
mainstream, I didn't do it. I'm sorry.
And the thing is, like with Lord of the Rings, if you're a fan, you're a diehard fan. People
Yeah.
watch those insanely long director's cuts all in one day. They'll do sittings of like watching the entire series in a day.
Dedicate weekends. Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll do it over and over and over again. The production value on those is fantastic. Um, I've seen clips here and there, and grew up with people telling me you have to watch it, and I just could never sit down and commit to doing that.
I feel like
Um,
that's a very fun thing if you are into that, doing like a whole weekend, maybe with like friends, just
sure,
binge watching the whole thing. But
sure,
you have to be into it.
yeah, and the thing is, like, there's an appetite for fantasy, obviously, but there's also this, now we kind of have to make a choice in terms of where are we going to go for our fantasy fix, because the Game of Thrones House of Dragons, that's going to be airing simultaneously. George R. R. Martin put R.R. in his name after J.R.R. Tolkien, so it's to say that they're not influencing each other is to be kind of under a rock. There's a lot of fantasy, and we've been saying this for like a year now, but like there's so much fantasy because the world we live in right now is just kind of dull, a little grim for some, and there is that need for escapism. What could they really add in a prequel, and why are we seeing so many prequels? What do you think that is?
I mean, look, I don't know what they can add because I am a Lord of the Rings novice, but like look at this picture. Like, are you kidding me? This thing
It's
looks
beautiful.
Yeah.
it's
It looks like a
it looks
Maxfield Parrish painting. I
not
mean,
only
it's
right. I mean, not only do these things like look at some of the stuff we've been looking at some of these clips and shots from the trailers and stuff, but this doesn't not only look like a movie. This looks like the kind of movie that would be like getting a production design Oscar or like a visual
yeah,
effects Oscar.
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, like just those
It's,
pictures,
yeah,
they're much more inviting, and even more wholesome, I'd say, than anything I've seen for Game of Thrones. I I actually, just based on the still images alone, I'm actually more drawn toward this. This is beautiful.
yeah. I mean, it is the most expensive TV show of all time, and it shows.
Okay.
I'm just you know the thing that, and I'll be honest. Again, not having cut because I'm not coming at this show from a story standpoint. I'm coming at it from, oh my God, the show looks fantastic. So
Yeah.
I'm like the one thing I'm looking for then is all the money they put into it, does that show? Because we've all seen
So far,
shows
yeah.
where you're like, like the Gray Man. I mean, you can kind of see it, but you're like, they
Ah,
spent 200 million?
yeah.
Where did that money go? Because I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
times
Good
like
question.
actors get paid huge sums of money. In this show, you could tell with the production value, the CGI, the quality, like the actual set pieces, the size of the cast, and they're not just getting like anybody off the shelf like novice, nobody actors either. There's some like top shelf actors in here, and like you have to do a lot of still with despite all the CGI, they have a lot of practical effects in this. It just
Which I
looks
think,
fantastic.
I'm always a fan of practical effects because sometimes when you do needless CGI, it sticks out. Like we saw in Prey, those floating discs. It literally just looked like, you know,
Yeah.
1990s CGI of like unrendered. It was not, I was not impressed with that at all.
Roland is not impressed with your opinion on that.
Oh,
I
here's
didn't
the
hear about
first.
that.
Oh yeah, there's that. Those discs in the that are sort of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
floating up.
I'm I'm
Those
I'm familiar with the scene.
those were really really bad in my opinion.
You like it? Okay.
Yeah.
I have yet
I'm
to
out
see
of
the movie. I will judge it for myself. I mean, the image, it certainly stands out. It does not. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a compositing issue. I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
what
and sometimes that's it. But like, with this, have a practical prop. Have some, and the well integrated green screen is an art in itself. I know Game of Thrones, they tended to opt for like really beautiful scenery, um, and some of the exterior shots on that show, like, I mean, just mind blowing. Um, but they would still add CG clouds or make adjustments in post. So it was a really I don't know. Here we're seeing a lot more blending. It seems like a lot of this might be CG
It
scenery and
probably
stuff.
is. Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
I mean, some of the
but
stuff like
every shot,
yeah.
I'm blown away by these. Every shot looks like a painting, and like a fantasy painting. It doesn't look
Yeah.
like cinematic cinematography for the sake of looking cinematic. This looks like fantasy, and I
Say
like
what you
that.
want about Amazon Prime Video, but Prime Video has a lot of good shows on it, and they really care about story. So I would be surprised if this was bad. That's my opinion on it.
Hey, I don't say what you want. I say all the good stuff about Amazon Prime because I think between them and Apple TV Plus, like they low key are the two best streaming services around right now for the money. I know with Amazon Prime Video, I mean you can get it on its own, but Amazon Prime Video you can also obviously get for free as part of your Prime subscription.
Well, what's interesting
There's
is that
just so
like
much. I was
we've
watching The
we've seen.
Terminalist this week. I just wanted to Chris Pratt. That show has been in the top 10 all week, and it's a fantastic. I mean,
Hmm.
it's nothing revolutionary, but it's a fantastic show. And you get the whole movie star in a compelling show, fantastic, fast-paced action, end-to-end Fuqua. But I'm like, there's stuff on these streaming services that you wouldn't. And the other thing is, they're not like piecemealing out stuff like Disney Plus does. So I like Amazon Prime and Apple TV for that.
Well, what's interesting is like in all of the streaming war stuff, we really haven't heard much about Amazon Prime upping their costs or anything. Their shows have just gotten better, and they might be the sort of dark horse, like quietly sneaking up on these bigger
They
brands
have the
like Disney
money.
Plus and Netflix. They certainly
They
have the
have the
money. There's
money.
no shortage of money. Um, but we've seen quality content coming out of Apple Plus and Apple TV Plus and Amazon Prime. Whereas, I don't know, most of the Disney Marvel stuff I've not been impressed with. A lot of the Netflix stuff, I actually saw an article on Vice that like all of the Netflix shows look the same. And I've been saying that for years. Everything feels like it's a Netflix. And
Well, they do
it's
because
no.
they have the same post-production process to make sure everything looks uniform, like and
Yeah, and I
colors
think
and all
that's a
that. Yeah.
mistake, honestly, because the whole
Well, there
brand
it's
of
more
Netflix
standards
is
than. But I see your. Are you talking to
they
stylistically? They look the same.
stylistically the look is
Okay.
the same, even the feeling cinema, just taking in the whole show. Often they feel like this show could be an episode that takes place, in a different town in the same show, and they're completely different shows. So I think when your
Maybe the
brand is
exception is
we have
Stranger
all this
Things.
kind of different content,
Yeah.
then your content should look different and feel different.
I mean, like Squid Game and Stranger Things, I think are two examples where I mean maybe you want to call them exceptions, but those two shows clearly stand apart as like in
Well,
terms of what they're.
there's a reason. Squid Game was made, out of the country by people. It wasn't made for Netflix originally. It
Right.
was sold to Netflix. Stranger Things is deliberately stylized, and so those are the two exceptions.
I mean, the Queen's
but
Gambit.
anything Netflix, I never watched Queen's Gambit.
Actually, that is pretty good. Andrew, I think you would like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is
really
good.
cool shots. We don't have to get into it, but you'd like it.
Well, I mean, getting back to Rings of Power, though, I mean, again, let me just put this one image up again. And this is one of many. Just watch the trailer. We have shown like clips from the trailer as we talked about it.
yeah.
It looks like you said, like a painting. Like you could
the
frame this on the
textures
wall.
it, I've gotten chills every time you've put up one of these images. They're
It's
breathtaking. I mean, and the fact that it is a photograph that it's a still shot from a camera.
yeah.
I can't even really put it together. It just doesn't seem real, and that's good. I hope the writing matches that. I hope the acting matches that. But it looks like, I mean, those costumes even are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we're going to be talking about this in even more detail next week because like we want to get like Mags and Catriona on, right? Because they're the two big fans of this. So,
Right.
but that's going to be on next week's show. I mean, I was actually just going through during our break, like what else is going to be on next week's show. We're going to be talking about this, and then we're going to be talking about, the idea that George R. R. Martin does not want to be like Stan Lee. He always wants to have some control over his properties and like Game
Well,
of
we've
Thrones.
seen what happens when he loses control of it.
Well, you mean like George Lucas like gave up Star Wars and he's got regrets about that.
Well,
I
there's
mean,
that, but there's
Martin
also
is
those
still
last
he's
seasons.
involved. Like he's an executive producer on the new Game of Thrones show.
Right.
Like J.K. Rowling is still very much in control of the Harry Potter everything. Like they have to get her approval to do anything Harry Potter related.
It's a good place to be as a creator, I'd say.
Yeah.
But all that's going to be next week. In the meantime, talk with us, interact with us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, pretty much anywhere you get a podcast. And, we take your comments seriously. Sometimes your comments even end up being the comment of the week, and we respond to them live on air. So, be our friend. Talk with us. We are giving our opinions, but we're just people who watch movies and TV. You're also that, probably, if you're watching this. So become part of the community and join the conversation. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.